Saturday, everybody. I'm Amanda Head, host of Furthermore with Amanda Head. That is our audio only podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But today is a special day because it is Small Business Saturday, as we have been doing for about the next month or so. I have a heart for small businesses. I love supporting businesses whose values line up with mine. I think it's very important for us to speak our minds with our wallets. And my guests today are Debbie and Bill Krueger. They are the owners of Dady-Oh's Diner in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I met them years ago when I was out on the Real America's Voice Save America Freedom Tour, where we trucked it across the country in a very bougie tour bus, I might add. I didn't ride on the tour bus because it was a male driver, another male driver, Ben Berkwam, Jeremy Harrell, and some of our tech guys, and it was all dudes, and I felt like all they were going to do was fart, so I didn't ride on the bus. I rode in a sidecar, not a sidecar, but we rented a car and drove along with the bus because I just didn't want to be stuck on that bus with a bunch of stinky boys. Anyway, it was a wonderful, wonderful time of my life, and they actually aren't stinky. I will correct myself. That was just the nightmare that I had should I have agreed to ride on that bus. But Bill and Debbie have become really dear friends of mine, and their business, Dady-Oh's Diner, is this very special, precious little diner in the heart of downtown Waukesha. And they, like many other small business owners, experienced the detrimental effects of government shutdowns and mandates and everything that went along with COVID. And then they survived that. And then they get slapped with the Biden economy, which is crushing them as well. So I want to highlight them today. I am so glad that they are here with me. So we're going to take a very quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with them in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody, to this Small Business Saturday version of Furthermore with Amanda Head. I am so glad that you are all here with me, and I am so excited to have these next guests on. As some of you know, I have been doing this Small Business Saturday series for, gosh, I guess about a month now. And the businesses that I have had on have all been incredible, but I don't know any of them in person. These two people I have the absolute honor and delight of knowing in person. And gosh, I guess about 3 years now, because I met you, the summer after Joe inaugurated. That's right, because we were on the Save America Freedom Tour with Real America's Voice. Anyway, Bill and Debbie Krueger, the husband and wife owners of Dady-Oh's Diner in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You bet.
For having us.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. And I'm going to give my audience a little bit of a background on how I know you. The summer after Joe Biden was elected, Real America's Voice, the network that houses my TV show, we went on this Save America Freedom Tour, and we literally had a tour bus that had been wrapped with all of the RAV branding and logo and all of that. And we were driving all over here, there, and yonder, all over Holy Creation. And Waukesha was one of our stops. And prior to going there, I remember you guys remember Harry, our tech producer, said, Amanda, can you help find us a good spot in somewhere around Milwaukee, and preferably Waukesha? So he knows that I'm the Yelp master. Anytime we are traveling together, he knows that when it comes to finding restaurants, I'm the person to do it. I book reservations ahead of time. I might not have even gotten on the plane yet to go on the work trip, but we have dinner reservations. I'm always that reliable person. And so I stumbled upon your business on Yelp, and of course it had great reviews. And so we came and set up and did some live shows from your restaurant. And the rest is history. And we've stayed in contact and, keeping in touch with each other. And you two are just incredible patriots. And I'm so glad that I met you 3 years ago.
So are we.
Yeah, we're glad we met you too.
I remember the phone call.
Yeah.
Do you? When I called you guys and I'm like, oh.
Yes, I remember saying, you asked if you could, tape here at the restaurant. And I said, I don't care as long as you stay out of our way.
And I'm not sure if we accomplished that. I'm pretty sure we did get in your way, but you guys were incredibly gracious about it. And we've come back since to do more tapings and more live shows there. Last time I was there with John Solomon, my TV show co-host, and we did some TV shows from there and brought in some members of Congress. So we always have a grand time. But I want to get back to the origins story of Dady-Oh's. You two running this incredible restaurant there in the adorable little downtown area of Waukesha, Wisconsin. And I have to be a little bit candid with my audience. Having not ever been to Wisconsin, literally nowhere in Wisconsin had I ever stepped foot in prior to coming to Waukesha. So I didn't know, the native influence on a lot of the town names and things like that. And I remember on air, I guess we were in the city prior to coming to Waukesha, and I said something on air about our next stop being Waukesha. And my husband called me after and he's like, Amanda, he's Canadian. He's like, I don't know much about Wisconsin, but I'm pretty positive it is not pronounced Waukesha. And so, yes, I was very wrong. But how right I was when I picked your restaurant, because it just turned out to be a blossoming friendship between the three of us. And now, that friendship has branched out into the whole RAV team. But tell us about Dady-Oh's there, nestled in beautiful downtown Waukesha.
You want to start?
Well, we are a small breakfast and lunch diner that we inherited 22, I shouldn't say inherited, that we started 22 years ago. This always was a restaurant, but we are the longest running tenants in this restaurant.
Mhm.
So we're open from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. every day except Mondays. We take a day off to rest. And we make a fairly good living here, and we're happy. And we still like to get up in the morning and come to work, even though we're in our advanced
Yeah.
stages now.
Yeah, we just turned 70 this year.
Oh my
Nope.
goodness. Congratulations.
Me 70 this year, yeah.
Anyway, we
Yeah.
still love our job.
Yeah, I do.
I love that. And every time we've been there, I feel like everybody who comes in that restaurant knows you, and you know them. And I think that that's a really wonderful thing about Dady-Oh's.
They know Debbie. Debbie is the front. She's the
She's the
I'm the
front of the
front of the-
house.
And I know a lot of stories. Yeah, we have such a good customer base. I mean, people that come in like sometimes every day. I mean, and you just hear all different stories, and yeah, it's great. They're a Dady-Oh's family.
well, and
Yeah.
if you're a new person coming in for the first time, generally by the time you leave, Debbie will know your name
Yeah.
and probably your birthday too.
Yes.
So
And I know that because Debbie remembers every time I come that I love Skittles, and she has a giant thing of Skittles waiting for me every time I get there. And then the next town, wherever it is I go after that, I'm in a sugar coma because I've only been eating Skittles, which is like the best part of my trip. And it's the best part of my trip food-wise. So you guys have had this business for 22 years. Talk
Well,
to us.
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Amanda. It'll be 23 in August.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Wow. What a
23.
legacy. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So over the course of these almost 23 years, owning a small business, I imagine, is much like a lot of things where you have good seasons and you have bad seasons. Tell us about how that evolution has occurred over the last 2.5 decades, roughly.
Oh, boy.
well, when we started out, I'll just say, me personally, Debbie had worked here before for the
Yeah.
previous owners.
Mhm.
I remember you saying
I-
that, yeah.
I
Yeah.
had no experience running a restaurant. We had catering business before that, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as the restaurant goes, when I look back on it now, I had no business being here. It's like it was crazy. I mean, you come into the business and you think, oh goodness, yeah, we're gonna do this and do that. But when the day came to finally open the place up and run a business for real, it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
Lord help me.
Bill, did
And
you have any experience in the
Oh,
hospitality space prior to that?
Well, we did catering.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a catering business.
But
And-
as
and
like I guess in the restaurant space as any type of owner or manager or anything like that?
No,
Nope.
Wow.
nope.
you know,
Both feet
so
in.
we just flew by the seat of our pants. I
Yeah.
mean, Debbie tried guiding me and telling me, you know, some things to do and what might help. But it was like, well, you know, I want to do it our way, my way. And it slowly took off. I mean, it's wisely, I tried to keep myself in the kitchen and keep Debbie out front. Just, you know, she's, you know, to soften the blow, I guess to say.
Oh,
So, I mean, that was our start, you know, and, I mean, you know, when we first started out, we probably overstaffed and, I mean, just did things way too many things that didn't need to be done.
Yeah.
Probably just to ensure that we had a good business, a good flow and everything. But as the years progressed, it's, you know, you kind of ease into it and you get a little feel for what's going on here. You try this, try that, don't do this, don't do that. Keep Bill out of the front of the house, otherwise he might kick somebody out, or, you know, I'm good at that.
Yeah.
But anyway, and just relax. That was the thing, was kind of get over the jitters and relax and start doing what feels good and what feels right, and take care of the customers.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so I want to get into the dynamic of being a husband and wife team running a business. I would imagine that there were some times of business strife or maybe marital strife as a result of the business and vice versa.
oh, yes. It's, you know, it's wonderful to work with your husband, but that's why he's back there and I'm out here, because I think that works a lot
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just say that when we first started out, I was a big drinker. I enjoyed drinking. I was really good at it, you know, and but after a couple of years, it dawned on me that, you know what, I can't do this and run a business and have a good relationship with my wife with this pouring this poison in my body. So once I got through doing that, retiring from drinking, it's made everything a lot smoother. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't know that this conversation was going to go there.
yeah, I didn't either, but
Bill, what made you stop?
I got super drunk one night and I fell in the kitchen and I hit my head and I was bleeding, and then I laid on the couch and passed out, and then Debbie came home and she saw me laying on the couch and she thought I was dead.
Oh
But
God, here we go.
but I wasn't, you know, and the next day I just said, you know what, that's it. This is it. That's all it took. And maybe it was a good thing that I hit my head, because it knocked some sense into me. And it's weird, because that very next day, I never wanted to drink again. I never had an urge to have a cocktail or a beer or anything. It just was like, poof, it's gone.
Yeah.
So now get on with your life and do it right, you know, be smart. You know?
Yeah. Oh man, what a transformation for you. I want to go back to something our audience might not, I'm sure they remember it, but they might not remember that this is what happened in Waukesha. The guy who senselessly murdered people in downtown Waukesha during the Christmas parade. And I hate to bring it up, but you know, when you consider things like that and what happened in Wisconsin with respect to the Black Lives Matter protests, I would imagine that in Wisconsin, especially for conservatives, that things have shifted since you started your business. Does it feel like that?
Shifted in what way?
Like culturally, politically, does it feel like a different place than it used to, or does it feel the same?
No, Waukesha used to be very, very conservative and Republican.
Yeah,
Very. I mean, you could count on Waukesha to vote Republican all the time. I mean, that just was the way it was. But now it's there's more of a mix, and I mean, it's not quite the same as it was 20 years ago.
that's true, because when I told you I was driving around and saw so many like Biden signs, and I'm like, I can't believe this.
Yeah. Does it feel like the same small town safe community that it used to?
If you don't think about it, and you don't have all those things racing in your head, I still feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's good.
does that mean it's true? I don't know, because
Mm-hmm.
I've lived here for 65 years, so it's always
Yeah.
been my home.
Right. Speaking of shifting things in life, I see all of the beautiful America items behind you. And you know,
Mhm.
I have been concerned for a long time that my generation was the last generation that grew up truly patriotic. You know,
Yeah.
we said the Pledge of Allegiance every day in class. We celebrated Flag Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, all of that. And there was never a question about it. There was never a question of whether our country was worth celebrating. For you two being extremely patriotic and loving this country, what do you feel like the future is for this country, considering patriotism is at a historic low, unfortunately?
It is, and I worry about my grandkids growing up.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And our great
And
grandchildren too.
yeah, and we have great
That's right.
grandkids too. And the way this world's going, it scares me.
Yeah. In the business climate for y'all, as you are trying to keep your business afloat, I mean, let's talk about COVID. What was COVID like for y'all?
Oh boy.
I was talking to a customer about that. I said, I'll never forget, it was St. Patrick's Day. And all of a sudden Bill said, oh, we have to close the restaurant. I'm like, what? Oh, I got an email. We have to close the restaurant. And we're all looking at each other. What are we doing? We got to go home?
Yeah.
And we were closed for 6 weeks.
Oof.
And I remember our oldest kept calling and going, Mom, can you open the restaurant yet? And I'm like, no, we can't, but we're going there every day to do stuff, because that was like our routine.
Yeah, of course.
Well, and back then they scared us. The government scared
Yeah.
the living daylights out of us as far as what they were, and the media too, as to what they were reporting. So they made it sound as though it was going to be so deadly that you couldn't, you weren't. Well, you remember, no hugging, 6 feet away, and all that stuff. So here we are trying to run a business, not knowing, not actually, we didn't know any more than the government knew.
Yeah.
But still being told, well, you can't make a living because, there's all these things that could happen or, may happen or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a scary time, but after a little while of being forced to be closed, the fear started going away because we were starting to become angry.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because the government was saying, well, you can't make a living, and thank goodness for our Supreme Court that overruled the governor and let us open up. And when we did, it was like most people who came in everybody was so thrilled that they could go somewhere.
Yeah.
And we were happy to see everybody too, it was crazy. It was crazy
I remember, gosh, I think back to those first, especially the first month or so where none of us really knew what was going on. We didn't know the severity of the virus. We didn't know where it came from. We didn't know who we were supposed to listen to. And there were just so many unknowns at that point. I'm here talking to Bill and Debbie Krueger of Dady-Oh's restaurant in downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin, who I will be seeing pretty soon when the RNC convention rolls around. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, and I'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody, to this Small Business Saturday edition of the Furthermore podcast. I'm Amanda Head here with Bill and Debbie Krueger. I guess probably my two favorite people in Wisconsin, because we now have a very long history of nearly actually, I guess over 3 years, because I think it was in May, possibly June, the first time that we came there to Waukesha and held some of our broadcasting there at your restaurant. We were talking about COVID before the break, and for y'all opening back up after that initial 6-week time, you know, I was a singing server at a restaurant prior to that, so I was checking back in on Michelli's and seeing how they were doing. And I know for them, I mean, sure, it was great to open back up, but the mitigation measures that you had to employ, you know, plexiglass and masks and all of the disposable paper goods and stuff, I mean, it was extremely expensive. How long did that last for you guys in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. How long did that last?
Well, let me start with when we reopened. Debbie had went and she had marked the chairs at the counter. You had to be so many feet away, etc. I erected the plexiglass, and when we opened, everybody was wearing masks, even us in the kitchen. Which, when I look back at it's
miserable.
Like I can't believe we were doing it.
It was very miserable.
Although it only lasted a week in the kitchen, because I said, you know what?
Forget this.
Yeah, this is BS. I'm not going to be in my own kitchen with a mask on. So once we got through the first week, we got back to normal pretty quickly. I mean, there were things that Debbie put out, like, you know, like paper towels and hand soap and, you know, all this stuff, you know, wherever, you know, wherever people could access it in the restaurant. But after a couple weeks, it was like, okay, we're easing back into the way we were. We stopped listening to the powers that be, you know?
Yeah. I want to ask you guys about the business climate for you now. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but practically every business owner I've spoken to has talked about the stark difference between the prosperity that their business felt under a much more favorable economic climate like Donald Trump's economy, and now with Biden's economy. What's it been like for y'all?
Well, our food costs has gone up like sometimes triple.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when we order food.
Yeah.
Well, and there was a time.
Yeah.
There was a time when, you know, we were paying for a case of eggs. We were paying like $80 for a little while. But for the most part, everything.
Wait, how many eggs is that?
That's 150
$80.
Yeah, $80. Yeah. I was telling the customers you're eating golden eggs because.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But everything is, you know, as far as our supplies go, things have doubled and pretty much stayed double. They haven't, you know, not much has come back down.
No.
We're just grateful that we can get everything now, because there was that period of time where we didn't know if we could get. There would be some weeks we couldn't get syrup.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad for a breakfast place.
Yeah. Well, you know, in the little portion cups, you couldn't get those, or
certain kind of jellies
or something like that. It was weird because there's no consistency as
Yeah.
to what it would be. It could be anything, any week. And if you got an order in from our supplier and it was complete, you're like, whoa.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, this is great. So it, and that took a long, long
Yeah,
time
it took a long time.
to straighten out.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had to raise our prices. I mean,
Of course.
we did not raise, we're very bad about raising our prices.
I know, because you guys are such wonderful restaurant owners, and I know your customers love you.
Well, it's not because we're so nice. It's just, it's a lot of being lazy and not wanting to send the menus to the printer and have them do that. But I mean, it got to the point where it forced us to look at our costs closer
Mhm.
and be realistic about what we charge and not apologize for it after we do it, because in the past it would be like, oh, should we raise this a 20 cents or should we raise this a nickel, or and people would react to that, but now we just come around and say it. Look, it doesn't come in here for free.
Yeah.
We can't process it for free.
Yep.
There's a cost involved in all this stuff, and if we want to be here tomorrow, we have to charge you this today.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Do you find that your customers, because when I worked at a restaurant in Hollywood, even prior to the Biden administration, I mean, during the Obama administration, we would have to raise prices. And because it's California, you've got crazy state laws that would affect the prices of things and affect policies that would then cause restaurant owners to have to increase their prices. And I very often found that customers did not understand. They blamed us. They were angry at us. They never connected the dots between the supply and what it gets put out, the product that goes out to the customer. Now, I live in a city like this was in Los Angeles, where I don't think that people are particularly economically knowledgeable or well-read. What do you find there? Do you find that people hold you accountable for having to raise your prices?
Yeah, it's different now. I'll say that Debbie will explain to the customers when they're checking out that, hey, this is the way it is now.
Yeah.
And if you don't like, she doesn't say, if you don't like it, get out of here. That's me. That's what I would say. But she explains it to our customers, and for the most part, people understand.
They pretty much understand.
They understand it easier now than I would say, than pre-COVID.
Okay.
I think because everybody's experienced, something in one way or another, as far as, price. Well, everybody's experienced the price increases. So.
Right. Everybody's feeling inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hate to say it, but at least you have that on your side. Everybody's feeling the pain instead of just the restaurant owners.
Right.
Talk to me, and I know you guys are very busy, so I won't keep you much longer, but we've got a big election coming up in November, and I know that you two are very knowledgeable of what happens in this country, and you stay on top of the news and you keep yourselves informed. What would it mean for you as business owners for Joe Biden to only have one term and Donald Trump to win?
It would mean a lot. I would feel, if Donald Trump would win, I would feel much safer in this country. Right now, I don't feel very safe. What's going on, especially with the border.
Yeah.
And also the administration is pushing this transgender stuff and teaching these kids at an early age, and that scares me.
Do you feel like Donald Trump is more of an advocate for small businesses in the White House than Joe Biden? Is that another piece of the safety?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a dire election for you guys, hey?
Well, you know, I think that if President Trump does not get reelected, I'm going to be first of all, I'm going to be very depressed. It's going to remind me of when Bill Clinton got elected. I was I was in depression for a number of years over that. But if President Trump is not reelected, I really am afraid for what's going to happen. And I don't know anything. I can't say, but things in general is just I would be very frightened, and I'd be frightened, quite frankly, frightened for our business too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I share your concerns, and I think often, you know, November is not that far away, and obviously that's the election, and if Joe Biden stays in there, it's only months off. And for us living in a state like California, I don't know what that would mean for us. I feel like we would have to make a hard decision at that point, and we've not wanted to leave California. Not because we love it here so much or anything like that, but because this is where, you know, we met here. This is where we have a wonderful church that we love. We have managed to create wonderful relationships and friendships with people, and we feel like it's our ministry. But I think that for a lot of people, you guys especially, because you are business owners, this election has some pretty dire consequences. And I'm so grateful for that serendipitous time 3 years ago when I met you both, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again because the RNC is going to be in Milwaukee. So I'll have to find my way over to Waukesha regardless. But it's great to see you both.
Thank you.
We hope you do.
Yeah.
We hope you do.
And I think we'll probably have that whole tech team with us as well. So I think we'll all probably jump in a minivan and make our way to Waukesha and come visit you guys.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
We look forward to that.
Yeah,
and tell everybody where they can find out, because you guys obviously are on Yelp. Do you have a website?
You know what? We don't.
Hey, I love it. Hey, it's word of mouth, and that's what we're going to do right now. Everybody, please go check out Dady-Oh's. It is in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Incredible food, even better ownership. And thank you so much for being here, Bill and Debbie Krueger. You are a blessing to me. You're a blessing to your community.
Oh, thank you. And I push Rav all the time to all my customers.
Oh,
I was telling them to watch Real America's Voice.
Oh, thank you so much. And tell them about this podcast too. I'll bring you guys some merch when we come, and you can give it out to people. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a very quick commercial break, and I'll be back on the other side. All right, everybody, welcome to this Small Business Saturday episode. I'm so glad that you are here, and I hope you really enjoyed that interview with Bill and Debbie Krueger of Dady-Oh's. If you are ever anywhere around Waukesha, Wisconsin, it is, if I remember correctly, it's a little southwest of Milwaukee. It may even be due west. Anyway, if you're anywhere around there, please go visit Dady-Oh's Diner. Bill and Debbie would, they are just magnificent hosts, and they would love it if you came into their diner. All right. So a few news items from this past week that I want to get into. First of all, the New York primary runoffs, where Democrat squad member Jamal Bowman went down, and it just warmed my heart. It warmed my heart. And many of you probably saw this very strange rally that he and AOC hosted in their kind of next door district. They are New York 14 and New York 16. So they're right there next to each other up in that borough of New York. And so they had this rally on Monday, I believe it was, to try to help out Jamal Bowman. He was running against another Democrat named George Latimer, who is much more reasonable, was also supported by some Jewish organizations because, unlike Jamal Bowman, he actually supports Israel and is not an anti-Semite. So anyway, they held this rally the early part of the week, and both of them just like screaming and jumping and hollering, and it was quite a strange thing to see, if I'm being totally honest. And then there were videos that went viral of a different camera angle where you saw the size of the crowd, and it was I don't know, probably 30 to 50 people. It was really kind of pitiful. Not pitiful enough that I felt bad for them, because I would never feel bad for AOC or Jamal Bowman, because I think that they are both terrible members of Congress and terrible for this country and terrible for their constituents. But hey, that's what people voted for, except they didn't. Well, they still voted for AOC, but Jamal Bowman went down. I think that numbers are still actually coming in as of the time of this recording. Reporting is at 93%, and it's about 60-40. 60, I think it was 59.4 for George Latimer and 40.9 for Jamal Bowman. Now, Jamal Bowman has had a ton of issues in Congress. Not only is he a member of the Radical Squad, which is a fringe element of the left. They have an outsized impact because empty barrels make the most noise, so they rattle the loudest. But they are a small-ish faction of the left. They are pretty fringe, obviously, in their beliefs. And there are only 9 of them who they deem worthy enough to be called part of the squad. But they are now down to 8, I suppose. Or was it 10 and they went down to 9? Anyway, it doesn't matter. There is one fewer, and I am so delighted for it. Moving on to another bit of a news item, Julian Assange. Boy, for how long have we been saying free Assange? And it kind of happened. He struck a deal with the DOJ for basically time served if he pled guilty. So he did. He flew to the Northern Mariana Islands, which is a U.S. territory, and pled guilty. And now he's in Australia. Apparently, Wednesday night Australia time, he flew to Australia as a relatively free man. And there have been a lot of conspiracy theories that are out there regarding his release. I'll give you my theory. So we all know that Julian Assange, on top of the material related to our war in the Middle East, Julian Assange had some pretty freakishly creative ways of getting a hold of information. He had and probably still has a lot of dirt on Hillary Clinton. Now, for those of you who are in the camp that thinks that Joe Biden is not going to ultimately be the nominee, there has been a lot of chatter about the DNC somehow dropping in Hillary Clinton to be their nominee. I don't know why they would do that. Everyone hates Hillary. Even Democrats hate Hillary. I don't know why they would do that. Anyhow, I realize that the temptation is there for them because they can't move Kamala Harris into the #1 spot because her approval ratings and popularity is even worse than Joe Biden. And Michelle Obama, I just really, in my heart of hearts, I don't think she's gonna. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. She spoke pretty candidly behind closed doors with people during Obama's term about how much she hated it. She hated being in the political world. She despised being first lady, which, you know, you can kind of not understand, but you could kind of already see that considering how she maneuvered as first lady and how much she seems to hate this country in general. But I really don't think that Michelle Obama would be the person who they would drop in. So Hillary Clinton, I know it's highly tempting for them. But I do wonder if Biden's DOJ, which we know that Merrick Garland, you know, they say that the Attorney General serves at the pleasure of the president. I think that Merrick Garland, to an even more heightened degree, serves at the pleasure and the direction of Joe Biden. And I just have to wonder if the release of Julian Assange was Biden's message to Hillary Clinton. Don't try to come around. Don't even try it, lady. I wouldn't put it past her too, because we know how desperately she wanted to be president, and she never stops talking about how she thinks that the election was stolen from her. But alas, that is the situation. So we've got the RNC convention coming up on July 15th. So that is, gosh, that's just less than a month away. And then the DNC shortly thereafter. I'm trying to remember the specific dates of that, but and then I mean, if the wheels don't come off this thing before then we are all in for a very bumpy ride. That's all I got to say. And so much money going into politics. So, I mean, the election that I was just talking about, Jamal Bowman's election, it was like $23 million combined from both sides that went into that House election. I think it was the most expensive House race in the country, and Democrats lost. Oh, burn. Oh, you love to see it. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this Saturday for this Small Business Saturday edition of Furthermore with Amanda Head. Remember, these are video podcasts. Saturdays, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast, Furthermore with Amanda Head, is audio only, but it's available on all of the major podcasting platforms, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, iHeartRadio, on justthenews.com under the podcast tab. I'm there. The other podcasts on that network, which are, it's John Solomon's podcast, John Solomon Reports, and Victor Davis Hanson and Bauer and Rose, and just a whole slew of wonderful, wonderful podcasts. So thank you all so much for being here. Tell all your friends about it. And if you have a small business, or if you have a friend who has a small business and you want to recommend them to be featured on this Saturday episode, these Small Business Saturdays, shoot me a message over on social media. You can find me on social media practically across all the platforms at Amanda Head. And also the podcast has its very own account on X, which is at Furthermore Pod. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.